Good evening. I call to order the Capital Improvement Street Maintenance Committee to order for Thursday, May 12th, 5:30 PM. Item 1 on the agenda, select a chairperson and vice chair for the 22-24 term. At this time, do I have any nominations for a chair?
I'll nominate Lou Larson.
Nomination for Lou Larson. Lou, do you accept the nomination? Okay. Do I have a second?
I don't think we need a second, but I have a nomination.
I think I need a second on that nomination.
Unless nobody's going to nominate, unless there is no second, but he needs a second in order to be nominated, in order for there to be a vote
Right.
amongst all the nominees.
Yep.
Okay. My understanding is nominations don't need a second, but I can second that if I can.
You probably read it 5 minutes before you came. I haven't read
Okay.
it in a while, but
I'll second that.
Okay. So any other nominations?
I did have a nomination in mind. As I stated when we started, I think everybody is fully qualified, and an engineer potentially would be a good fit for this. I'm going to nominate Chad Hankey.
Chad, do you accept the nomination?
Sure.
Okay. Do I have a second for Chad? Okay. A second? Okay. First and a second. Any other nominations? I will close the nominations then, and we'll have to vote, I guess. TJ will pass around some little takes. Yep. You need a pen, Lou? Here.
okay, thank you so much.
Great. Yes, I'll collect. Thanks. 5. We have 3, am I on? We have 3 for Lou Larson and 2 for Chad. So I would, we have our new committee chair, I guess. Lou? I will turn things over to you then for vice chair. Do we have to vote on that, Tara? Or anything else?
I think
Yeah,
we've always voted on
Okay.
vice chair. Yeah.
okay, all right. Lou, I'll let you handle that one.
Never. Is this the right one?
Turns all of them on, and then that one right over there will turn yours on specific.
Oh. Okay. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine myself sitting up here, but here I am. And thank you for your support. And so could we have a nomination for vice chair? Yes, Alder Rasmussen.
Thank you. I'll nominate Gary Gisselman to be the vice chair. I think as a past chairman of the committee, he will be very helpful in a leadership role to help you out with that.
Thank you. Do we have a
I'd second that.
second by Alder Denny? Do I need an all those in favor?
I suppose we should ask Gary if he's willing.
Oh, Gary, I'm sorry, yes. Are you willing to be vice chair? Sorry, I'm new at the job. All those signify for Gary Gilselman for being the vice chair of the CISM committee for the 22-24 term, signify by saying, oh, are there any other nominations? I'm sorry. I said, I'm new at the job. Going once, twice? Okay, I take that as a no. All those in favor of Gary Gisselman being vice chair of the CISM committee for the 2022-2024 season signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And mark that as unanimous. Okay. Next is to establish a regular meeting time. Is this a okay meeting time for everybody?
So it's, Lou, it's scheduled for 5:15 normally? This was by exception for 5:30? I'd prefer 5:15 if that's,
5:15 is good by me.
I guess I have prior commitments on Thursday nights. I can get around them. I'd prefer 6, but
no. I don't have a preference, really.
I don't have a preference either. If Chad's other commitment is a year-round arrangement, because we could really, I mean, sometimes when that happens, we can adjust certain meetings, like to a different time, if you know you have like some commitments but not others.
it's just the summer.
Just the summer, so 3 meetings, basically. We could maybe adjust the time for those 3, and then
Sure.
could we go at 5:15 the rest of the time?
I'd be okay with that.
I'd be totally willing to work around that for summer.
Sure.
Is everybody okay with that?
Well, just point of
Alder Disman?
information, I have a 7 o'clock county board meeting, but that's my only issue on, and that varies throughout the month, so, I mean, that just happens to be tonight, so, but that's fine, if usually we'll just make it work, that, if that's agreeable to everybody.
Yeah, and on the months that Chad has the conflict, he could probably just let Eric and Lori know, and
Yeah.
then they can fix the time for those few, if that is fair.
So we shall keep the meeting time at 5:15 during the fall, spring, and winter months, and during the summer,
Just-
we can negotiate.
Just 5:15 all the time. If I have a conflict, I'll get ahead and
Okay.
just make special arrangements
Okay,
on those nights.
all right, 5:15 it is then. Anybody opposed?
No.
Okay, thank you. We have a consent agenda to vote on. I would take a motion to accept the consent agenda. Motion by Alder Rasmussen, second by Alder Dinney. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And we will mark that as unanimous also. Item 4 on the agenda is possible action on amending Wausau Municipal Code, Section 10.48.090, annual and monthly permits. These next 2 items seem to be pretty cut and dried, I guess. They're pretty much lenient on the parking permits, I imagine, because the mall not being there and it's not as actively used as it used to be. Is that correct, Eric?
It is, yeah. It is, yeah. The malls are, the mall ramps are very lightly used right now, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, I goofed already. Could we have a motion to discuss item 4 on the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve item 4.
Okay, thank you, Alder Rasmussen. Do I have a second? Thank you, Alder Gisselman. Okay, all those signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, item 4 passes. Item 5 is discussion and possible action authorizing the modification of fees to the city of Wausau, fees and licenses schedules adopted pursuant to Wausau Municipal Code 3.40.010A. Can I have a motion to discuss this, or is that how it
I'll
works?
offer that motion on number 5.
Okay, do we have a second? Second by
Second.
Alder Chad Henke. Is there any discussion on this item?
So this is the ramp one, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe they both are, if I remember correctly. Is that correct, Eric?
No, this is Lot 5. This is on Third and Grant. This is a surface lot. that we
Okay.
have in the city.
But overnight parking when it's not winter,
That's
basically?
correct, yeah. It's allowing overnight parking when only April to November.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Can I have a, all those in favor of this item, approving item 5 signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That is passed unanimously. Discussion and possible action amending Wausau Municipal Code, Section 10.48.120 violations. Eric, would you like to bring us up to speed on this one?
Yeah, I think this is a clarification on the ordinance that legal has put together just to help enforcement. If any, is that, if any, yeah, if anybody has any specific questions, Tara, I'd be able to ask specifically, but.
Any other discussion on this item?
No, move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those signify, second by Alder Dinney, first by Alder Rasmussen. All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And with that, we move on to item number 7, 2021 MS4 Annual Report and Compliance Update. Again, Eric, would you like to comment on this, or TJ?
I can take this one.
TJ, yeah.
All right, so in this packet, we have our MS4 permit annual report, what was submitted to DNR. I'm just going to hit a couple of highlights in this, and if there's any questions, I'll take them after. But so during the 2021 year, we had 11 commercial construction sites that were greater than 1 acre. At any given time, and all those needed inspections. I believe we had over 40 inspections for these. We had all of our 49 major outfalls that discharge into the Wisconsin River inspected. Those are identified by either being 24 inches or greater, or a discharge from an industrial source. 11 of those needed to be tested due to either them being flowing during dry weather or being submerged. 3 of them were found to be outside of the testing limits, and all 3 of those that were identified to be outside the limits, the source was identified and removed. And then our friends down at DPW, during 2021, they removed 7,500 tons of material through street sweeping and catch basin cleaning. Most of that was sediment and other rubbish and debris. And then finally, last but not least, to meet our educational requirements, we held a Saltwise open house down at the DPW garage. This is where representatives from Saltwise down in Madison came up. We also invited municipalities from surrounding communities, and we went to various stations reviewing the practices that our DPW uses to reduce salt and still maintain safe roads during the winter. We had representatives from the county, Merrill, Cronin, Wetter, Weston, and they all shared, what their trucks are capable of and what they find to be the best way to manage the ice during winter. So, then, before moving on, are there any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. It looks like we're a little ahead of time, so maybe I'm just looking for some education here. What is an illicit discharge definition?
Anything other than stormwater. So, 2 of those were chlorine. Of the 2 of the 3, what we consider illicit discharges were chlorine related. 1 we found out was due to we were doing hydrant flushing, and the city municipal water was creating too much chlorine, and that was outside the boundaries. The other one was an apartment building that was using city water for their chiller. So we rerouted their water to go into the sanitary sewer.
Center, okay. And just out of curiosity, where do you take the street debris that you sweep up that many times?
So every year, we have we have to apply for a permit to allow a beneficial reuse permit. So we bring all of our material to a site, and then once a year, we have to test that to make sure it's not outside of any contaminant boundaries. And then if it's found to be within the compliance, then we can use that as some type of beneficial reuse. Right now, I believe we're bringing it to the airport as a fill material.
So this was sent in March?
Correct. Deadline was March
Yeah,
31st.
to the DNR, right?
Correct.
Did we hear anything back from them?
No, we typically don't. They review them and keep
No.
them on file.
No news is good news?
Correct. Okay, without any other questions, I'm going to move on to a grant that we just submitted, and then, so we submitted a grant for a stormwater pond conversion. And this would be a 50/50 grant up to $300,000 to convert a pond from a dry pond to a wet pond. And the reasoning for this is because during our next MS4 permit term, which is in 2024, the DNR is going to be requiring all communities that are along the Wisconsin River Basin to begin reducing their total phosphorus loading that discharges into the river. Right now, the requirement is to have a 68.6% reduction. We are at 28.1%. That equates to, we discharge 6,402 pounds of phosphorus, or we don't discharge that, but we create that much phosphorus. And right now we are discharging 4,603 pounds. So we need to reduce that by just over 2,500 pounds per year. And by converting this pond to a wet pond, we will help reduce that by only a mere 13.9 pounds. But what I'm trying to show is that by this pond, which is going to cost, per our estimate right now, $470,000, we're only going to be reducing it by 13.9 pounds. And we need about 18 times that per permit term to remain in compliance with the DNR. So the DNR is asking us to reduce it by 10% per permit term.
TJ?
Yes.
So what is your long-term vision for this if you're only removing 13% now and we need to do more? And where is this pit going to be located at?
Strawberry Fields subdivision over on the west side. I think that's 54th, 57th Avenue on the south end of, over there. But there's multiple ways to do this, like we're doing, creating a wet pond out of a dry pond, creating new wet ponds where stormwater just discharges directly into the Wisconsin River, or through just simple redevelopment as our older industrial buildings or parking lots are redeveloped. There are requirements through the DNR to remove phosphorus and suspended solids that don't already have controls. There's currently a leaf pickup study that's being conducted that if we meet those requirements, we could use that as phosphorus reduction. And then there's also phosphorus trading that we could do either with our sanitary utility or neighboring communities that discharge into the same basin that we're in.
So, in other words, how many ponds are you going to actually need, or is there what other long-term visions do you have to siphon out the phosphates?
So with our master plan that was completed in 2019, we identified 10 projects that would help reduce or get us close to that 10%. But even those 10 projects will not achieve that 10%. And the DNR does have a clause that says to the maximum extent practical. So, you know, as long as we're making an effort, but I don't think this one project is going to be showing a significant amount of effort. We have to show that, you know, we are either creating new ponds or doing something that is going to make an actual impact to this phosphorus reduction. Now, the leaf study, that should be completed here shortly, and I think we can apply for that because we already are doing that. But there will be different requirements. Before it was very strict and stringent on, you know, if we have alleys, we have to collect in alleys as well. That was one of them. But now they're changing that around as long. I don't have all the specifics, but that's one major one. And through redevelopment, but in order to meet the redevelopment requirements, you know, we would have to do a study. So that's, you know, creates a burden as well, a monetary burden to hire a consultant to study what all new redevelopment we've done in the city and how much phosphorus we're actually removing.
I have a question. So that's, phosphorus is measured off of the 47 outfalls?
Nope, phosphorus is just calculated by all of the runoff that is created within the entire city of Wausau. So it's through modeling. It's not just, you know, it's not through sampling or something extremely scientific. It's modeling through runoff and how much impermeable surface that, you know, parking lots create more than roof drain or roofs. And then, you know, the use of swales or dry wet ponds will also help reduce that phosphorus. But so, long story short, there's going to be, beginning in 2024, a large commitment that we're going to have to start making to be reducing phosphorus, and I think that a stormwater utility would go a long way in helping us raise the funds that would be needed to work towards DNR compliance. And I think that's something that should be considered.
Alder Rasmussen?
Thank you. With regard to a stormwater utility, I know that we've talked about it before, but given the fact now that we are all starting new, as a new committee, I think for educational purposes, it would be helpful if we could revive the stormwater utility presentation or create a new one and have that in this committee first. And then it, you know, depending on what the costs look like for, you know, the projects, even the 10 projects, say we were to fund them, I mean, at $470,000 for one pond, is it fair to think that you would be well in excess of 5 million if you had to do 10 of them? I mean, you know, and this is all right now levy dependent because we don't have any other revenue collection to use for it. And so to stave off a tax increase, if we are under a mandate to get to a certain level, it would behoove us to have a discussion about a stormwater utility. And the council now has the means by which to create a stormwater utility if it wishes to, but I think we all need to learn about it first, because it's been a lot of years since we've had those talks, like maybe 10 years. So could we get a presentation for our next meeting about how the stormwater utility functions and roughly what we think it would cost people?
Yeah, I think June, maybe July, Lisa.
That's
if
fine.
That's okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We don't
Yeah.
need it overnight, but I think
Yep.
as we start to think about that as a possible treatment for all this, we need to know more.
I think it's important to note too, sorry, Gary.
No, that's fine.
You know, like, as we look at streets, and as TJ said with the redevelopment, we are looking at stormwater storage, retention, whether it's underground, bioswales. Some of those were put in over on Thomas Street, you know, those types of items help us, right? They're small pieces to that puzzle, but so those things, as we redo areas where we can add those, you'll see those in the designs of those street reconstruction projects and those rebuilds as we can fit them in, so.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, Alder Gisselman.
So is this the new way of doing technology for stormwater with regard to Or is this the way, it's not new technology, but is this the way that we're going to be moving then with regard to the ponds or is there other ways of doing that?
Wet ponds are probably the most cost-effective and efficient. There is like a mechanical separator and then different like coagulants that will stick to the phosphorus and speed up the process and make it more efficient. But those, at this point, I don't think they're quite advanced enough to be effective enough or cost-efficient enough. But,
Okay,
yeah, wet ponds are probably the best
thank you.
way.
Alder Henke.
Thanks. Is this like a math equation, basically? Like the model says X, and we need 50 Y things to subtract to get to 0?
More or less, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Lou, I've got a question.
Yes, Alder Denny.
Is this incorporated in our RFPs for projects? Do we look at this plan, this piece of the plan when we do, there's a water study or a water runoff study?
Any redevelopment is required. So there's redevelopment and new development. New development is any piece of property that's like undeveloped or previously undeveloped, and that it requires 80% total suspended solid removal prior to leaving the site. And then a redevelopment project requires 40% total suspended solid removal.
So we need a lot more new projects.
Yes.
Any other discussion? I don't see this as, I see this as information only, so I don't see there needs to be a vote on this or anything. So we will move on to the next item, which is the 2022 projects, I believe?
Yeah, TJ's got it.
2022 projects, yes.
I'll take this one too. So, kicking things off early this year, we had the 6th Street Mill and Overlay, which is taking place right now from Horseshoe Springs to Evergreen Road. That's nearing completion. That'll be 100% early next week. Right now, both lanes are paved and open. They just need to put the shoulder in some of the approaches. The next project is our yearly asphalt overlay project. This year we have 2 areas we're going to be working on, and that is the intersection at Kent and Grand, and also 6th Street from Jackson to Scott. All 3 lanes will be milled and overlaid. The anticipated time for this is mid to end of June, and then completion by early July. Our next project is Project A, which is the extension of water main from Bugby up campus in Burek. This is tied to the new water plant. That'll be replacing a 6-inch water main with an 18-inch water main. And then Project A also includes the complete reconstruction of Bugby. This is expected to begin in early June and then be completed by the end of September. The contractor for this will be A1 Excavating. Project B will be the 4th Avenue reconstruction from Bridge to Knox, and then also 4th Street, just out here in front of City Hall, just 1 block. That is Haas who got that job, and that'll be beginning in early June with a completion date of hopefully by middle of September. And then Project C, which is Torney Avenue from Town Line to McDonald. That's a complete reconstruction of the road and all utilities. This will be funded by CDBG, and we're still waiting on the funding for that, so that has not been bid yet. All of these projects, A, B, and C, there are potentials for delays. Right now, we're still waiting on the water main. This is the first year that we've actually ordered that ourselves. We ordered that back in January, and we're hoping to receive that by early June. But as I'm sure everybody is aware, there's some severe material shortages, and but we've been told that we should have all of our materials by early June. And then our final project is a 72nd Avenue Trail, which we just received all of our easements for, and that's the last piece that we needed to submit our final plans, specifications, and estimates to the DOT for approval. That approval process takes about a month and a half, and we plan to bid that in by the end of July and begin construction in August, with a completion date of by the end of the year.
DJ?
Yes.
Now, that 72nd Avenue, that's just along 72nd Avenue. That's not the loop that goes behind it, I believe, back there by,
Along Stewart?
yeah, back behind 72nd Avenue. I'm not sure from like Industrial Drive that goes around. That doesn't include that, is that correct?
Correct. This is just from Packer Drive up to International.
And is there any plan for to do that in the future?
We have a TAP grant submitted right now, but I don't think we're going to hear back until the fall of whether or not we receive that grant.
The reason why I ask is as I drive, I used to drive through that frequently, and around lunch hour and stuff, there's many people walking on the street there, and I'm just afraid that somebody's going to get hit one of these days, and a sidewalk or a trail out there would be the ticket.
Yeah, we've applied for TAP funding again, which is the same funding that we're using for that 72nd Avenue Trail project, and that segmented trail is estimated at around $1 million with a 80-20 cost share. So we'll find out hopefully later this fall whether or not we get it.
Okay, thank you. Before adjournment, is there any other questions to the construction project report?
I have a question, educational. Again, the project over here with the clinic, that's on the, I guess that's third. Are there any street maintenance pieces to that project because of all the construction going on where like Fulton Street, there's no, is there any extra attention given to that or part of the project costing?
I believe on our 5-year plan, we just added Fulton Street. I don't know the exact year, but within the next 5 years, our plan is to reconstruct Fulton from that Riverview or the First Avenue or First Street up to 6th Street.
Yeah, so Fulton, is one street too that we were looking at possibly applying for an STP urban project too, which would be DOT funding too through the MPO. But it's also something that we're looking at a possible TID-funded project, depending on what kind of redevelopment and stuff happens. I know that there was talk about ABC Supply and some other things. So TJ's right. I think it's on our list, but I think it's year 4 or 5 from now. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we have any other comments for the construction update projects for 2022? Do we have any agenda items for the next upcoming meeting you'd like to be put on the agenda? I guess I would like to ask Eric that, I know we've talked over the last 2 years on the CISM committee about the new facility for the DPW, and I was just wondering, when are we going to get an update on that? When are we going to move forward with that?
You should be getting an update in June with some of the additional sites that we looked at, as well as some recommendations from staff and the engineers. So our consultant is preparing a presentation for that right now. We haven't seen it yet or reviewed it by staff, but I would anticipate that it should all be ready to be presented in June. So,
All right, thank you, sir. With that, could we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Alder Dinney, second by, hey, Alder Hanky, thank you. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned, thank you.